Intersection, intersection, magazine, magazine.
Intersection Magazine Podcast.
Welcome to the Intersection Magazine podcast. This is an audio summary of the February 2026 issue, Volume 10, Issue 7, which means we've done about 10 years worth of magazines, and this is the 7th issue. So for February, I was going to talk about, or rather, we talked about time travel. An article by Brad Slingerland of NZS Capital, LLC. This was the third installment of the same piece. We also covered governance. We featured Founders Freedom. We also wanted to talk about the partnership between Japan and Uganda through the JICA. And then we also had a Q&A with Glide, a fictional AI governance system trained on leadership models or large leadership models from the past. Our cover photo was the work of Paweł Starzyński, which was available from Unsplash. So as usual, we normally have our web design, web hosting package, which is a course we've put together. I think in the age of artificial intelligence, many of you are wondering if this is really still worthwhile, but we think it is. You will learn, and I think we'll include this model. We'll also obviously have to have a section on vibe coding, but currently what we have is we have design using content management systems like WordPress. We also have design using What You See Is What You Get editors like Dreamweaver, which is one of my favorite tools. Not only will we teach you how to design web pages, we'll also teach you how to host them. Whether you want to do this the hard way or the easier way, where you use resellers, which is what I do. A reseller lets you pay them a certain fee, and when you can mark that price up for your customers. We'll say the reseller expects $3 a year from you. You can charge your users maybe $10-15 for the service. So I'll teach you how to design and as well as host web pages. So I was interested in this piece on time travel because what the author does, what Brad Slingerland does, is he tries to give you his approach towards investing. Now he's done something interesting in that he's looked at all the films or movies or series that exist that have covered the subject of time travel. Now what is he looking at these movies or series for? Well, he's looking for ideas, ways to think about the market, ways to think about investment, ways to think about people's behavior, ways to think about market trends, and how what you can do in terms of your thinking as an investor, a long-term investor, a short-term investor, when you're thinking about markets and how they behave. One of the reasons why I was interested in Brad Slingerland's work was because I also have a magazine that covers film. And what I try to do is see if there are lessons we can learn from Hollywood and its depictions of fictional characters and film, to see if there are lessons we can learn that are relatable to that particular month or the major themes we cover, from investment to energy to renewables to stocks, bonds, equity, venture capital, angel investing, etc., etc. So that's what I sought to do in this particular piece, just give you a set of movies as he saw them and what they were trying to do and what they're trying to cover. Now the second piece I wanted to cover, because the last part with Brad Slingerland was only 2 pages, so we also included a section on governance. This was a little significant because at the start of the year we had just dealt with the attack of the US on Venezuela, so that news was really in everybody's mind. And so I think there were so many layers of information that I think were significant, from the possibility that it was oil related, to the possibility that it was governance related, to the possibility that it was related to the Chinese and how the Chinese were beginning to express their influence in the West, and how some people thought that what Trump needed to do, or what Trump tried to do, was to destroy Chinese influence, or the Chinese takeover, which they connected to the fact that the Chinese were trying to get everybody off the dollar. And so you had the BRICS nations, which is Brazil, Russia, India, South Africa, and China, and they were trying to see if they could get people off the dollar. So there was that aspect as well. There was also this whole idea behind the petrodollar. So the weakening dollar was one of the ideas that was floating around. And so I thought it would be appropriate for us to think about why geography matters, why governance matters, and why we have to watch these spaces if we're going to be effective collaborators, effective investors in these spaces. As usual, for our Founders Freedom section, one of the services they offer is a business growth roadmap. They break down the services into about 4 parts. Preparation, which includes agreeing on key milestones, reporting points, and approval mechanisms. They also have an assessment part of the service breakdown, which is a guided session of questions and answers, opportunities, threats, analysis, and all sorts of other things, recommendations, and then business growth map. They also have a section for board formation, where you have to look at your governance needs and you assess those needs. You look at your company's profile, and then of course the induction of the board that you have selected. As usual, you can participate or you can collaborate with the magazine through ad spaces, which we made clear. And then, of course, there's also the opportunity to collaborate with a podcast, whether that's Intersection Magazine podcast or Transition, Transformation, and Radical Thinking podcast, which is merely our spiritual arm. So for a 15-second ad, you're talking about $50 or $25. For a sponsorship of a season of 12 episodes, that's about $300 USD. We also have given you the costs of having a website designed and hosted by us, as well as shared our 4D methodology. Those of you who are interested in consultancy and communication, we have some publications that we've put together for you. These are written by my late father. And so what I did is I put together some small basic publications covering that material. We've also presented our subscription costs for those of you who are interested in that part. For the Chinese, we've looked at in previous issues, we aim to look at how Uganda works with different governments. So this particular one, we're interested in relations between Uganda and the Japanese. So they have different ways in which they split the collaboration, and in particular focus areas. They have the advancing of ICT through growth and collaboration. They have strengthening the ecosystem through connectivity. Then they have homegrown solutions, HGS. And then they have a section where they equip Ugandan youth through the Africa Business Education Initiative, or the ABE initiative. We wanted to have a rough idea who these people were, and my feeling especially around these personalities and why we needed to feature them was the most expensive part, and the thing that most investors are usually very weary of is to be the first investor, because in a sense you are the shock absorber. You are absorbing all the risk that's involved in investing and being the first person on the ground to invest in a company. So what I thought was interesting, what we could do was, how about we feature the people that went through the JICA acceleration program and the JICA collaboration between JICA, the Japanese, and Uganda. So I thought that if we feature the people that went through the program and told their stories, that those of you who are interested in investing in these people, in these companies, would be a step ahead. Japanese had absorbed the risk of being the first investors and being the first people to invest in these companies and in these people, to build the skills of these people, to participate in enhancing the technical expertise, investing in travel, etc., collaboration with universities and other companies. And so you would come in at a later stage where at least you knew who these people were. Another company has already absorbed, or another group has already absorbed the risk. So that's why we think this is important. It may be a little bit lengthy, but I think it's necessary to have a bit of a glimpse into who is who, so that you can make smarter investments. Our choice from the reel was The Long Walk. The character selection, I think, was amazing. How they were able to get a story about a conversation around a dystopian future, and how life has gotten so whittled down to one basic competition that's actually being streamed. So streaming is still a thing, even in this dystopian future that the author and the filmmaker of this show presents. But also, as I said, the interesting mix of characters, from African Americans to South Japanese American, original nations person. The choice of characters, I think, was really good, and then of course the dialogues were also amazing, so you might enjoy watching that as well. I have an attraction for dystopian films, especially because they help us see what possibilities exist in terms of where things could end up. Is it going to be because of a natural disaster? Is it going to be because of a nuclear event? Is it going to be because of an epidemic where we get to a place where we find ourselves cornered? Now, for our Founders Freedom section, not only do they cater to the needs that I mentioned before, but also there's the possibility of talking about strategy and governance. For strategy, they're talking about a review of your strategy and then the process of documentation. So this is basically strategy formulation. And then in going deeper, they also have a evaluation of your board and then the development of that board. Founders Freedom's mission is to help founders build firm foundations that enable their businesses to run in their absence and to last generations. The vision of Founders Freedom is a community of successful multi-generational African-owned businesses. Their goal is to enable for there to be freedom now and then freedom for posterity. So one of the major needs they identified was that many of the businesses that are being established on the continent do not have a long-lasting impact, especially after the original founders pass on. So they've identified a way to make this less of a problem, which is why I've entered into a partnership to collaborate with them to present their materials and then their timetables in terms of what they're doing for the year, so that you can also enjoy and participate in that. Now, for my interview with the fictional governance system, I think you'll enjoy seeing that as well. The questions I asked the system were based on what I think would be key areas that a system of this nature would want to answer. About maybe a month and a half ago, I put together a piece where I predicted that we're going to come to a point in time where, out of frustration, we're going to begin to select artificial intelligence to rule over us. You have a system. If a system is created that has no bias, that's fair, that's fully automated technologically, and that has the best, that has been able to capture the best of our thinking, the best of our history, the best of our collective experiences. A system of that nature would make it very easy to run a country, especially if that country was rapidly or essentially digitalized. And so the whole question of voter fraud, the whole question of democracy, the whole question of leadership, governance, all those sorts of problems I think would be solved if we had a system of this nature, and I think this is where we're headed to. So those are the questions I asked our GL AI. You might enjoy reading that as well. Then we also present the last 4 issues of the magazine. Elite reproduction hypothesis was one of the major ones we covered. And the annual report for MTN was also one of the things we covered. My artificial intelligence course, that included free and open courseware, open-line courseware, and then how to use all of that information to create a comprehensive artificial intelligence, or rather a comprehensive virtual venture capital course. And then we also have a review for the year, investment thesis, where you have metrics, risks, and strategies, and then this month's issue, in which we covered GCA, governance, and time travel to make better decisions. So that's basically it for the month of February 2026. This is an audio summary of the volume 10, issue 7. Once again, thank you for listening, thank you for subscribing. We hope to continue to engage with you when this and a lot more. Those of you who are interested in subscribing can do so. We have a competitive price of $24 USD, which is about 89,000 Uganda shillings, or about 3,200 Kenya shillings. And with this, you can get 12 issues sent to your social media of choice or an email of choice, where you can find out what articles we've curated for the month, to help you stay ahead and to help you keep abreast of the facts. As I said before, we appreciate your conversations and your inputs. Thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing.
Intersection.
Intersection Magazine Podcast.